Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show this Thursday, the 13th of January, 2021. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. Now, let's get started and let's open up the charts, and we're going to talk about a few things. Start the charts right here. Take a look at what's going on. What's going on with Evergrand? You know, the big property developer in China that's supposedly going bankrupt. Well, they just built their first electric car. they're switching over to a different form of business. You know, it says Evergrand is to change from a real estate company into an electric car company. The first step has been taken. There they all are, standing on either side, the factory workers of the new car that's just rolled off the assembly line. It's a little blue car, and it looks nice. It's a nice looking car. You know, it's probably well made. But they're switching over to making cars. It says electric cars instead of buildings. This is what they're doing, according to statements. The ailing Chinese real estate group, Evergrand, has started producing electric cars. By the end of the decade, the group should be completely converted into an electric car manufacturer. Hengshi is the name of the brand, under which the car division Evergrand, its new energy vehicle group, Evergrand NEV, wants to bring vehicles into the market. The first model is a Hengqi 5. Hengqi 5. That sounds really good, you know. The first vehicle rolled off the assembly line at the Tianjin factory, about 120 kilometers south of the capital, Beijing. So they got their new car. It's got a 150 kilowatt drive, and it doesn't give information about the battery capacity and range just yet. It's probably got pretty good range. The vehicle is considered by the manufacturer entry-level model and will cost the equivalent of about 27,000 euros. That's what it's going to cost for a brand new one, you know. So they're not real cheap. They're not a cheap car. They're probably a good car. Might be as good as a Tesla. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to take a look at this too. Talks with Russia stalls. NATO chief warns of a new war in Europe. And so Stoltenberg has said that there could be a new war in Europe because talks have stalled between Russia and NATO. The thing is Russian troops have built up on the border they're on the Russian side of the border, but they're conducting live fire drills now at this point, you know. And but they're on their own side of the border. If they cross over into Ukraine, then there will be trouble, you know. And I think things I've heard. I think the Russians have something. They have a lot of tanks. Let's put it that way. The Russians. You know, I'm going to tell you something about NATO. We went through toward the end of World War II, you know, way back in the 1940s. Forces over in Europe had tremendous amount of tanks and equipment left over from World War II. But, you know, then we went into the nuclear age. And there was a reliance upon nuclear as a deterrent rather than conventional forces. And so in some cases, some of the countries are lacking in conventional forces because of their reliance on nuclear forces. The Russians have a tremendous conventional force, and they're in their own backyard, and that means that logistically speaking, because they're in their own backyard, logistically it makes it very, very easy for them to use this conventional force. The thing is what we see the drums of war beating right now. Now, will it happen? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. But we have to keep our eye on this situation. let's get in there and let's take a look now at the markets. Let's take a look at silver today. Now, I told you guys, I told you guys that first round of the first $30 billion cut per month that they just did, the Fed, right? I told you guys that they've priced that in. And we've seen a little bit of a downturn. We've seen bond yields go up and everything. That was them pricing that in. The market's pricing it in. And I told you guys yesterday, it's just about priced in, that first cut. The next cut's coming. And the next cut is going to be deeper because when the Fed cuts, it's a cumulative. That first cut of 30 billion, right? And then they're making another cut of 30 billion a month later. It's a cumulative. That first one is 30 billion, but when they make the second one, then we're up to 60 billion. You see, because it's an accumulative effect. You know? Just like if a person goes out and has one drink, it doesn't do much. But if they have two, then the effect starts to kick in, that cumulative. And then three, it starts to kick in more, right? That's the accumulative effect of this thing. See? And it's the same way with this money situation and the Fed withdrawing the support from the markets. It's accumulative. So the second cut's when we're going to feel it more than the first cut. And they're going to keep going with this, guys. I mean, if they were just going to do a little bit and say, hey, you know what, we've got away with this and stuff, we're going to back off. I would say, hey, you know, guys, you get a different report from me if that's what it was. But it seems like the Fed, each time they get away with this a little bit and markets don't fall or anything, they're going to get more and more brazen. They're going to keep going until it does break. That's what they're going to do. And that's why it is going to break. Because now they're talking about balance sheet reduction. On top, before they were talking about, hey, you know, we're gonna do these cuts. We're gonna finish up by March. We're gonna cut 120 billion by March. 30 billion, 30 billion, 30 billion, 30 billion. So they're gonna be up to 120. That's like 1 beer, 2 beer, 3 beer, 4 beer. You know, I mean, it's a cumulative effect. So basically, you don't feel much if you just had one. By the time you've had two, and then you're going to another one, and another one, and another one, you're going to start to feel it. And that's the thing with this. But if that wasn't enough, then they said, okay, well, when we get all that done, and we get done cutting, then we're going to start raising interest rates. Well, okay, yeah. They're not going to raise them much, just slowly. Markets were pretty much, you know, I mean, but that's not enough. Then they're going to start balance sheet reduction. So, I mean, that's quantitative tightening. I'm telling you guys, they're going to break it. But they're going to, I mean, the thing's going to break. A little bit hard for me to tell exactly when it's going to break, but I'm kind of betting on the next cut, you know, or maybe the cut after that. But it's not going to be long from now because these cuts are coming once every month. And I got thinking this morning to myself. I said, you know, everybody's expecting the Fed to react, you know, at around 20% drop in the markets, or 10%, 20%, whatever, you know. Maybe they're planning on expunging all the bad debt from the system, or maybe I don't know if they're crazy enough to go in there hog like they're doing. You know, maybe they're crazy enough to hold back and let it collapse, and thinking that it'll bottom out and thinking that everything will be fine. It's up to them. That response back that comes from the Fed that buoys things back up again and keeps the markets from going down further is up to them. We have to remember that point, that it's up to them. And the big question mark is, how insane are they? You know? I mean, and could it get away from them, too? at a certain point, when they've got the markets finally to the point where the markets are going down daily like a stone sinking in the water, can they stop it at that point? Can they put the brakes on it even at that point? So I have told you guys before, this is very dangerous what's going on. There's a lot of dangerous situations in the world right now. Anyway, looking at the silver price today, it's down 6 cents, is at 23.06. Silver's been doing rather good lately. Let's take a look at gold. Gold's at 18.16, down $9.40 on the day. Let's take a look at cryptos, see what they're doing. 2042 in billions, so that's 2,042 billion. Let's refresh the page and see which direction it's going. 2055, so it's going up. It's gained 10 billion in the last few minutes since I refreshed the page. A Bitcoin price of 43,223. It's extremely resilient. I can see that. Well, you know, Bitcoin is like one of those cockroaches, you know, that you try to kill, but he crawls under the counter somehow, you know, it survives. They have tried to kill Bitcoin so many times, you know. I remember the big Mount Gox thing, you know, that debacle. And the Chinese, I remember the Chinese coming in banning it a number of times. They did that more than once, you know, and that sent the price spiraling downwards. I had major concerns with cryptocurrencies, you know, years ago, thinking that Bitcoin would somehow get some sort of a computer fault or something, or somebody would do a 51% attack or something like that and would take it out. Nope, nothing takes it out. It's like Teflon coated titanium. And if it gets where it wants to go ultimately in the end, you know, cryptos want to establish a new financial system, a new worldwide financial system that's based on limitations, the computer created limitations of the amount that can be created. And believe me, those are hard limitations. When Bitcoin says 21 million, never any more than that. That's the maximum that can ever be on the earth. It means exactly what it says. Nobody can beat that computer algorithm and create more Bitcoins than the 21 million. So it's limited in quantities. And this is what makes it different from the ordinary fiat currencies. All of your fiat currencies out there, every darn one of them, are completely unlimited. They can create as many as there are leaves on the trees. But not cryptos. Cryptos have limitations. And that's what gives money value, is scarcity. That's been the way with every money all the way through history. If there's a limitation on how many you can obtain of it, they've used everything for money. They use seashells for money. They use a lot of things that have been used for money. But that scarcity thing is what gives money its value. And with fiat, doesn't have any scarcity. They can create as much as they want. It's artificial scarcity. When you get the creator of the fiat, like the Fed is the creator of the dollar, when they create too many, but they control that. So they can create an artificial scarcity by just basically hauling in like they're doing right now and not creating anymore and taking away what they've already created. They can create this artificial scarcity. But their system will start to fall apart if they do that. That's what's happening right now. Their system is going to start to fall apart. And when are they going to say uncle and quit with this business, this stupidity? Because on the other side of this, I'll tell you what I think, guys. I think the first half of this year, the stupidity is going to be going on from the Fed. And they're going to be cutting everything they can and trying to balance the budget, basically. It's a laugh to balance the budget. And they're going to be setting the system into a deflationary stance, a bearish stance. The second half of this year is going to be totally different. That's what I think is going to happen. I think the first half of this year, Bitcoin's probably going to be the worst performing asset class out there. Gold and silver's probably not going to perform that great. The markets are going to perform very poorly. Then in the second half of this year, it's going to be boom time. And it's kind of coming together with uh, this virus that we've been suffering through for the last 2 years, slowly making its way out, because I truly believe that this is the last big wave that we're in right now. And once that wave crests, then what happens is it starts to go down, and so this summer I think we're going to go into a period where the virus is starting to pull away this summer, and people are starting to go back to work, and supply chain inventories in the early part of this people are going to start to function again a little bit. Supply side issues are going to start to go away, and this deflation in the first half is going to really start to roar in, and then the Fed's going to be forced to become accommodative monetary policy. And then moving into the second half of this year, all that's going to converge to yield a recovery of the velocity of money is going to start to pick up, and so is the inflation. And they don't call it a crack up boom for nothing. The boom side is going to start to come in on all this, and we're going to see things pick up, and it's going to feel good. It's going to be, I'm talking about this fall, later this year. I think this is the year we're going to have a pretty decent Christmas. But look out, because it's going to unleash the inflation genie fully out of the bottle later, the second half of this year. And I'm expecting Bitcoin could become the best performing asset class out there. But it's going to come at a huge cost, because it's going to move us into the hyperinflation solidly. And then we're going to start to see prices increase by 20 to 30% monthly, probably by the end of this year. Moving into the 2023 is hyperinflation city. Ultimately, where this is going in the end, I don't know. It might take 2-3 years to get there. But where this is going in the end is prices are going to be increasing so rapidly on everything that it's going to impoverish a huge chunk of the population. I'm talking about the bulk of the people out there are going to become impoverished by this. And that's when the real trouble's going to come, toward the end of that impoverishment. Because, that's what happened in France back. But this time it's worldwide, I'm just looking at France as an isolated back in history, when the French become extremely impoverished. They said that Marie Antoinette was said about her that she made a statement. I don't know if it's true or not, but they said that she made a statement about the poor people. They said, "What about the poor, starving people?" And she said, "We'll let them eat cake." Kind of a. That's what they said, she said, but I don't know for sure if that's actually happened. Anyway, I'm rambling here. We're taking a look at cryptos. Now we're going to take a look at the market today, and we're up 192 points on the day, 36,482 on this what's been a Teflon market. But, even Teflon can wear through, like a Teflon frying pan, it can wear a hole in it, and generally does, But that's what the Fed's doing right now, is they're working through the Teflon. We're going to see it pretty soon here. Let's take a look at oil. Oil's 82.05, and we're looking at down 59 cents on the day. And now we're going to take a look at the move index. The move index is at 74.55, and it's dropped just a little bit, dropped 2%. We're looking at a low move index, which means liquidity in the credit markets are moving pretty good right now. Now we're going to take a look at the bond market. And you see the 10-year has stabilized under 1.75. It's at 1.73 right now for the 10-year. We're seeing a mixed bag in bonds today. We're seeing some of the yields going up, some going down. But the movement's not big. It's only small today. 2.08 on the U.S. 30-year. We still have the inversion between the 20 and the 30-year. The 20-year at 2.13, a little bit higher than the 30-year. But overall, we're looking at the bond market settling down now. I told you ahead of time the bond market is going to settle down. And I'll tell you when it's going to start to take off again, when they price in this next cut, which could come a little bit early. Don't have to exactly be 1 month from now. When the markets realize that, hey, they're going to do it for sure. They're going to make the second cut for sure, which could be earlier than the end of the month. We're going to see these bonds start to go up again. And next time, the 10-year is going to get up close to 2%. You know? Let's take a look now at the U.S. dollar index at 94.73 and slowly falling today a little bit. It's down into the 94s. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. And have a great day. Bye-bye.